words of my mouth, the meditation of all our hearts, and every action of all our lives be always acceptable to you, Lord, our strength and our Redeemer.
Amen.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me today. It's no greater joy and honor than to be invited to worship with others, and this is such a wonderful place. I met with a few of your people just 2 weeks ago, something like that, and I talked a long time, so let me just give you the background, the bottom line of what I told them, which is you have a great deal to offer to the people around here, the people of Elkin and all the surrounding areas. And second of all, they want to know about you. They may know the building, but they don't know you, and they want to. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. Well, today is the second Sunday of Advent as we rush toward Christmas. And I know that over the years you've all heard all kinds of sermons about Advent and the meaning of Advent and what you should do during this time. Today I'm going to tell you they were all wrong. But don't worry, I double checked, and they cannot throw me off the pension fund because of blasphemy. So I'm safe, but no need to tell the bishops, okay? But in all seriousness, over the past few years, and particularly, honestly, over the past couple years, I've gotten a new appreciation for Advent, but more importantly for Christmas and Easter and all the other days. Now, let me try to explain that, because there's a central question, I think, anytime we're approaching any of things like this, and that central question is, what is the purpose of Christmas? Not the reason, but the purpose. And we can ask that about any of the days, including any Sunday. What is the purpose? Why bother coming together to celebrate them? I mean, yeah, we come together to celebrate our children's birthdays or our loved ones' birthdays, but God is self-sufficient. God does not need that from us. We're not giving God anything. It's all for our benefit. So how do we benefit from Christmas? And the purpose is certainly not simply to remember. I mean, we make that clear in the Eucharist, that the point is not simply to remember what Jesus did for us. And certainly, part of the reason for Christmas and Advent is reflection, to consider the idea that God so loved the world, that God became flesh and lived among us. To spend time thinking about the implication of that. But why? Why bother to reflect? Well, I think the answer is found in God so loved the world. Now, I doubt any of you have a mirror right in front of you, so what I want you to do, hold up your hand. Hold up your hand like this. Look at your hand and say to yourself or out loud, God loves this person. Yeah, do that regularly. And look around. Particularly if there's somebody in this room that you aren't best of friends with. And say, God loves that person. That's what it's all about. And again, you might say, okay, that's important and nice, but how does that connect to Christmas? If you're going camping on a cold night and there's a fire, what do? You try to get as close to the warmth as you possibly can. Or if you have somebody, or can imagine having somebody you love very, very much, what do? You spend as much time with them as you possibly can. So the answer to why Christmas matters in our lives is our need, our desire, yes, but even more importantly, our need to be close to God. to be close to the God who loved us that much and loves us that much. So how does that negate all the sermons you've ever heard about Advent? Well, let me begin with the thing you've probably heard at some point in time, that Advent is another Lent. It's another penitential season. And technically that's right, but you may have noticed I didn't use the penitential opening for the service this morning because I want us to look at it from a different direction. I want us to understand it as being more than that. Now, I have no problem saying we should acknowledge all we've done wrong. And I personally find the Rite One confession to be extremely powerful. Things done and things left undone. Because I strongly suspect there's probably nobody in this room who is so burdened by things done that they can't move forward. But I suspect if we spend time, we'll all think of things left undone. So certainly notice, reflect, most importantly, acknowledge, and then try to do better. Absolutely true. And to do that as a focus on Jesus' arrival on Christmas Day is good. But spend weeks doing that? Not necessarily, and in my seldom humble opinion, not particularly good. In fact, I'm reminded of a story a friend told many years ago. He went to a spiritual mentor on a regular basis once a month. And one Sunday he got up and he was explaining that the day before he'd been thrown out of the office of his spiritual mentor. Well, we all was wondering what he had said, of course. And he said the problem was for the last 2 months he had come in and told the same story about the same sin. And his mentor said, God forgave you 2 months ago. Why are you still dwelling on it? The issue is, what can you do about it now? So notice, reflect, acknowledge, and try to do better. Absolutely. And to understand that really leads us into the second inaccuracy in many sermons. How many times have you heard from the pulpit that you need to slow down, relax, not let the stress get to you? Well, that's good advice. No question about it. But even so, I'm going to suggest you add things to your schedule. Or even better, replace some things. And yes, begin by adding the reflection and about things done and left undone, but then focus on what do you do about them? Certainly do the best you can to reduce the secular stress. I mean, buy Christmas presents in July. I don't know, whatever makes your life a little bit easier. Turn down a couple of invitations. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was somebody said to me that the response, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but I have a commitment," is perfectly legitimate, even if the commitment is to go home, grab a beer, and watch football. It's still a commitment to yourself. So, yes, take away some of the stress. But also think about what it all means. Ask yourself, imagine somebody is coming to your house on the 25th of December, somebody you love very much and loves you very much. What would you do? You would repair anything that's broken that you can. You would clean out anything that's messy. You would fix up your world, so to speak, as best you can. So that when this loved one walks in the door, when this loved one's with you, they say to you, "Wow, look at what you've done." Well, Jesus is coming. Your most beloved Jesus. The Jesus who loves you more than you can even begin to imagine. Jesus is going to come into your world, and Jesus is going to say, "Look what you have done to my word." what attitude is that going to be said with? Joy or sadness? Understand, you will not fix up this world before Jesus comes. It's not going to happen. But will there be one or two things you can proudly show off? You can proudly say to Jesus, wow, look at this. What is now broken in your world that might be repaired? Maybe a relationship? Maybe you know of a lonely neighbor? What is messy right now that could be cleaned up? What can you do to make Jesus be excited and enthusiastic about the changes being made? So rather than a reflective penitential season, I recommend a season of action. A season of fixing up what is broken. Fixing up what God has left perfect and we messed up. One example. Mass shootings. Now, I'm not going to talk politics. Anybody wants to know my feelings later, I'll be happy to share them. But I do believe there's something we each can do. Won't end them, but it might reduce them. You see, I'm struck that every single mass shooter, except for some domestic situations, and even some of those, every single one is described the same. They're described as isolated, lonely, someone who has been bullied. Now, the specific words vary from case to case, but if you look at them, they're all described in the same way. And it's not just mass shootings. Certainly a lot of other situations, people are described that way. Well, see, my thinking is someone who knows love cannot spew hate. Someone who knows love cannot spew hate. We can make this world a little bit better if we seek out those people and just connect with them. Might be just a short conversation with the lonely person next door. And don't think, oh, that's the family's responsibility or teachers or someone else. That's all of our responsibility. We cannot stop the evil actions, but we can reduce the potential for them to occur. How? Well, as I said, it might be a short conversation or a phone call, but the fact is we interact with dozens of people each and every day. A simple smile and a nice word might turn out to be the peak of their day. Might be what changes them from being angry at the world to being, hey, this world isn't so bad after all. It might be a checkout clerk. It might be the garbage man. It might be the nurse at the doctor's office. So what I invite you to do is set a personal goal. Set a personal goal that every single day you will make somebody smile, somebody you don't know, a stranger. And not just oh, I work here so I've got to smile at you, but a real smile. Find a way to do that. And then when you've learned how to do that, make it 2 people. I mean, how hard is that to say I'm going to make 2 people a day smile? And if we do that, if enough people were to do that, it would change the world. In fact, the more I think about it, this process would be a great theme for a song. I don't know exactly, maybe something like, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let it begin with us. Okay, I promised 3 blasphemous statements, so here's number 3. Sing Christmas carols if you want to. I know I'm stepping on really big toes now. And certainly not during the service. We don't sing them during the service. But if at other times, singing Christmas carols brings you closer to God, that's what it's all about. If humming "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" reminds you of the glory and the majesty of God and kind of connects you there, then do it. or to remind you of what we've just been talking about. Haste, haste to bring him law, the babe, the son of Mary. But on the other hand, if your pattern is to wait anxiously for Christmas Day, to sing carols, if that's the way you grow close to God, then great. Put earmuffs on when you go to the mall, and on Christmas Day, sing out joyously. My point is, do what helps you grow close to God. See, that, growing close to God, is the purpose of Advent.